All right, well, the 5 worst things about the 2026 National. We're just going to get right into it. Number one on my list, Tops. Tops really dropped the ball this year, in my opinion. The biggest thing that aggravates me about the changes that have been implemented by Tops was that they didn't bother to include a set in the VIP goodie bags this year. So if you're not super familiar with what Tops has done in the past, they've typically given a national exclusive VIP set that's included in the goodie bags that VIP pass owners receive when they pick up their badge. In the past, they've done like retro designs of Hall of Fame type players and things like that. But Panini, for all of their faults, historically had done a great job of putting out a set each year, especially when they had the licenses. So I used to look forward to those every year. You get some of the new rookies. He's not exactly highly desirable now. But guys like Zion Williamson was a headliner. Guys like Trevor Lawrence was a headliner. The top picks, right? And some of them don't turn out. But Panini, again, for all their faults, they put out solid sets every year. One year they did all football rookies. So Topps just decides this year that they're not going to put any set in there, like nothing. And to me, that was super, super aggravating. It's like you have the major licenses. By major licenses, I mean you have basketball, you have football, you have baseball, and you give nothing to the VIP pass holders. I thought that was bad. In addition to that, and I'm going to loop this into the same piece, Topps did away with the Q&A. If you're not super familiar with that, over the years, Topps has had a question and answer session. It was a best kept secret for years. Well, word got out, and they switched it to basically be like a lottery type system because it'd only take 150 people to attend this event. It was typically like on a Thursday night. They'd give you free food, free drinks, they do giveaways, and you got to talk with management that worked for Topps. And it was great. It was a question and answer session. It was awesome. This year, nope. No Q&A. So I just feel like these two things, it seems like they're probably like cost-saving moves, but for me, they're 2 thumbs down. I really, really disappointed with those 2 things. Let's go to number 2. A long-standing tradition at the show for companies like Panini and Topps to offer redemption packs with boxes that you buy at the show. The way it used to work is you'd go to one of the big dealers, the Blowout Cards, the Steel City, the Dave & Adams, those types of places. You would buy a hobby box, and that would entitle you to one Topps national exclusive pack or 2 packs, just depending on what type of box you buy, whether it's hobby, jumbo, whatever the case may be. Topps did away with that this year for Topps products, and instead they offered national exclusive boxes, but the catch was you had to do drawings via an EQL. I don't come to the National to spend a lot of time doing those types of things. I know a lot of people in the past that are just like, I want to buy a box of Flagship, or I want to buy a box of Bowman, or whatever the case may be, and it's really cool to be able to buy it at the National because I get that a national exclusive pack or packs. And they decided to do away with that too. So now it turned into an EQL. It turned into basically like a lottery. It turned into people entering this lottery and try to flip boxes and stuff. I'm just not interested in that. Now, I do know that some people like this new system because they'd rather not buy the product and they'd rather just buy the national exclusive product direct and take their chances in an EQL. And if that's you, that's fine. But it's not for me, so it's on my list. Number 3. The upstairs portion of the National is still a mess. There is nowhere near enough room between the aisles. If you haven't seen videos on this, there's countless of them out there showing you how tight these aisles are. And it's frustrating, I was talking about this to with a few people, and it's frustrating because there has to be some sort of reason, right? Because when you walked upstairs, there's this wide open space, and then to your left, you have all the aisles. So like on the surface, it looks very simple. Eliminate one of the existing aisles and add tables to each to the end of each row, basically extending out each one of those rows. That's one option. Or eliminate one of the aisles and just put them perpendicular to the existing ones. That way you'd have fewer aisles and you'd have more space in between while still accommodating all those dealers. Now, I would assume that there has to be a reason why they're not doing that. Excuse my neighbor's dog barking in the background, by the way. There has to be a reason, right? But I don't know what that reason is. The bottom line is it gets way too tight up there. My strategy this year was, as soon as I got into the show, I went upstairs. I didn't do it on day one, but after I learned what it was like, I started on day 2 and I went there first because I could get there an hour early as a VIP and I could still kind of maneuver around a little bit easier. So that's 3. I hope that they can fix that for next year. There has to be a reason why they're leaving that open space, because the solution seems really simple, but I must be missing something. I'm not entirely sure. I'd like to see that fixed. Number 4, PSA and BGS debacles. Okay. I think it was Neo prior to the show. He said that even though PSA increased their end of show grading rates to, I think they were $229 a card, that they were going to have incredible demand. And I agreed with them 100%. There's a lot of situations where people don't want their cards in the mail, whether it's value or whether it's just something that's it's a very big part of their PC. They just don't want it in the mail. They don't want it to get lost. They don't want it to get damaged. They're willing to pay the price, get it done at the show. So PSA gets a huge demand, and kudos to them. I mean, the demand for their services is super high because their cards are more valuable in their holders than others. Do I agree with it? Nope. But that's the way it is, statistically right now. So where I'm critical with PSA is you have to know what you're able to accommodate by the end of the show. Because what ended up happening was you had all these people paying for rushed services to get these cards back quick, and then you took on way too many cards to be able to handle them, and then you basically had to tell people, hey, you were expecting to get this, in some cases very early in the show, but at the very least by the end of the show, and now we're going to have to mail them to you. Because that defeats the whole purpose of why people were using this service in the first place. So I submitted 0 cards at the show for this service. I just didn't have any that I wanted to submit at that level. So it didn't affect me personally. But think about how it affected other people. Some people had high-end cards that they needed back quickly because they wanted to sell them, or they wanted to trade them, or they were only going to be at the show for a day or 2, whatever the case may be. And this caused significant problems. So that was a debacle. BGS. Now, I can state this factually, and I'll explain why in a second. BGS ran out of slabs by the end of day 2. You heard that correctly. Now, how do I know this? Well, my wife came on day 2. It was great. She really enjoyed herself, and it was just really cool spending time with her at the show. It was awesome, right? Well, toward the end of day 2, we went to the BGS booth, and I was like, well, let's see what kind of lines there are. And there weren't any lines. I was like, something's going on here. They would have some sort of a line. And there was a guy that was standing at the entrance there that was working for BGS, and was like, hey, what's going on? Are you still doing reholders? Because I was considering doing a reholder or 2. And he said, no, that all of that's been cut off because we've run out of slabs. Now, there's a couple ways to look at this. One, hey, amazing levels of demand. Tells you that the hobby is very strong. Yeah. 2, though, you ran out of slabs on day 2. Like, that's the one thing you really got to have. So they ran out of slabs. So there's different perspectives, right? From one perspective, from the company's perspectives, they did amazing business. But from the collector's perspective, those 2 parts sucked. Because people wanted to participate in something that they could not. Now, last on my list, and this is number 5. I wish I had $10 for every time I heard somebody go up to a dealer and say, what percentage do you need to be at this on this card? What percentage do you need to be at? Whatever happened to just making an offer? Most dealers, not all, but most dealers had sticker prices on their cards. The ones that didn't, it's annoying because you have to ask, and then that opens up those types of questions, right? But most of them had them priced. I'll give you an example. This Barry Sanders Superfractor that I bought, he had a $675 sticker on it. I was okay with paying $675. Great card, 101 obviously. I love Barry, right up my alley. Fantastic card, right? But I was like, well, I'll see if I can save some money for lunch or something here, so I'll offer $650, right? I didn't go up to him and be like, what percentage do you have to be at on this Barry? I heard it so many times, whether it's buying, whether it's selling, whatever the case may be. If you're wanting to buy something from a dealer and a dealer has it priced, make an offer. I know dealers will be happy to hear this, because it's got to be annoying, like listening to that all day. What percentage you need to be? Where do you need to be at percentage-wise? Just make an offer. If you're selling something, dealers may tell you, hey, we're paying X percent, whatever the case may be. Fine. Have a dollar amount that you're willing to accept and either take it or leave it when you receive that offer. But what percentage do you have to be at? And I'll close with this. Think about this for a second. When buying a card that is rare or scarce, too often people are just stuck on the last comp, or maybe the last couple comps. Sometimes they're old, sometimes they're new. Listen, here's what I've found in my collecting time since I've been back in the hobby, since 2007. I have found that if I am stuck on the most recent comp or the couple most recent comps on a card that's rare or scarce, I have found that I will be forever chasing that card, and it'll just remain just out of my grasp if I'm not willing to pay over comps. Think about it for a second. If no one ever paid over comps, then the values of cards would just continue to go down. They'd never go up. I'll give you another example. This LeBron James Their Money Rip card. I mentioned in a previous video, and if you haven't watched my previous national videos, I got a video for each of the 5 days. Give them a look. And also, if you haven't subscribed, if you consider it, that'd be great. Back to this though. So, had a $1,000 sticker on this card. I'm going to tell you now, straight up after the fact, I would have paid $1,500 if the sticker said $1,500. I wanted this card. One of these cards sold around the time of the National online on eBay, and I had no idea because I wasn't monitoring eBay. I wasn't checking it, for like $1,100 in a PSA 8. That does not mean that this BGS 8.5 is worth $1,100 or less. It's an extremely rare card that sold for $1,100 on auction. Had they put a price tag of $1,500 on it, I would have bought it right on the spot. I would have tried to negotiate. And I ended up buying it for $900, which was great. Fantastic price. I was happy to pay it. Talked to friends of mine. They're just like, I think that's worth like double. Because we know that one sale or a couple of sales on scarce or rare cards does not set a market. So just something to consider. Cards that transact regularly, of course, they're much easier to rely on comps. I'm not saying the comps serve no purpose. They're a good starting point. But just kind of keep that in mind. And I'll close with this one last point. The card that's gotten away from me that I've been forever chasing is the 2007 Topps Copper number /50 Kevin Durant rookie. I've missed out on this card by $50 to, let's say, $150 2 or 3 times, because I kept thinking, well, you know, the last one went for this, last couple went for this, and people were willing to pay up for it because it's rare and it's difficult to find. And now it's at a point where it's a tough chase. You know, and I've been chasing that card basically for 19 years. That's another one that's actually sold fairly recently. So now I got to just keep my eye out for the next one, maybe, and maybe next time, you know, I'll be able to get it. But just some things to consider. Stay tuned. Also, I'll put out a video about the good things about the National. Also, I'm going to be cracking one of those New York Knicks packs that you could order that had the guaranteed parallel. I'm gonna be cracking one of those on the channel. Maybe, who knows? Maybe my ship has come in and I got the starting 5 autograph, or 101 of Brunson, or OG Ananobi, or Cat, or whatever the case may be. We'll find out, I guess. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'll catch you in the next one.